we do a warm-up with really great purpose. And so you come in here, you're chit-chatting with your friends, and when warm-up starts, practice starts. Now it's about performance. Now it's about cueing the one next to you. Now it's about being great on every rep. It's about calling out your teammate that took 2 reps off. Cool downs about chit-chatting whatever you're doing next, right? Different philosophy from that warm-up mindset to that cool down mindset. Warm-up is about performance culture. Cool down is about team fun culture in my world, as we're truly trying to get these things looking amazing. Yeah, and that's where I have cool down is the psychological part, right? This is the relax, socialize, reflect on what practice looked like and what you want to do better. Different mindset for leading the activities that are in the cool down. The last thing I just want to leave you with here is the other place that I think outside of this movement, neurological, injury prevention based mindset is the 4 R's of recovery. And we spent 4 years with the women's national basketball team trying to optimize this for every athlete on the team, where they tried different things. Some of them would do like cold tubs, some of them would do massage, some of them would do the Normatex. And it was all about being the best recovery to be able to train the next day in an injury prevention. And in your world, you can really get them focused and give them skills and knowledge that they don't have yet about refuel, rehydrate, repair, and the value of rest. You think your athletes eat, but I ask them if they eat and they don't. They don't eat before practice. They don't have food for after practice. They haven't thought about their meal plan for the week, right? And if they want to go down that path to high performance, you can start planting the seeds, and you can have like BT from football. We used to have a prize for best lunch on the bus for game day, right? We're traveling on the road. Who's got the best lunch? With the idea of educating them about what goes into your best lunch. Who had the best pregame snack? Who had the best pre-practice snack? Who's got something for recovery, and what does that look like? Those are all places where you might make assumptions about your athletes, but I'm telling you, their bucket's pretty shallow. They don't know a lot of this stuff on their own. When it comes to the rehydrating part, it's so valuable. You can tell your athletes that national team athletes pee in a cup every freaking day. And it gets monitored for their hydration status, and they get told how to be perfectly hydrated because it's that important to performance. And so we have this little pee color chart by the bathrooms where if your pee's a certain color, it ain't good. You can download those pee charts. Heather Hines, who does all the nutrition stuff for the council, talks about pee charts all the time and having their hydration levels up. They don't drink enough of the good stuff, right, to be able to be fueled for your performance. And I think when you think about as little as 2% dehydration changing performance, it's a big deal, right? And you have to make it a big deal by asking what they brought, asking what they had, making it okay to talk about pee color, right? Like, have some fun with it. Get them to think about that, especially when you're in multi-game day situations, right? That recovery and repair, because this affects performance. This affects fatigue, and fatigue gets you those acute injuries. And 70% of what we see are the acute injuries. And a lot of them are fatigue problems. And this is one way for you to help them with their fatigue. So I talked a little bit about how do we help them prepare. Some of your athletes might be into a big stretch afterwards, right? How do you set them up for that? Teaching them what to do, how to do it, what it might look like. Some of the athletes might be more in a dynamic type of workout. Maybe the whole team does a little dynamic together at the end, and then they get to have 5 minutes for their own, and then you get to have your debrief. However you want to structure that to look. We talked about cold tubs with our athletes as well, and then we talked about foam rollers. So many people have the guns now. I mean, some of your athletes might have those really expensive guns. Are they using them well? Are they warming up properly using them? Are they cooling down properly using them? But that whole idea about repair is really important. And I think the last thing I think that you can really make sexy again is, are they sleeping? Because they don't. They they're staying up, they can't fall asleep, they got bad sleep hygiene happens. And my comment to all those athletes is the magic happens when you're sleeping. And when you're not sleeping, your brain isn't taking in everything your coach told you yesterday so that you remember it the next day. If you're not sleeping, your body's not resynthesizing muscle glycogen and you're not ready again for tomorrow. It doesn't happen when you don't get into those REM sleeps. So that whole idea of asking them, right? Are they getting enough sleep? And again, it has to be something that I think you just build into that pre-warm-up. Like what day you're talking about nutrition, what day you're talking about fuel, what day you're talking about sleep. And when you do this, you're asking about that quality sleep, there's some criteria on it. Like you fall asleep 85% of the time you're in your bed, so that it doesn't take you very long to fall asleep. If you do wake up, you fall asleep again quickly, right? And so you're not taking more time and they're only waking up once a night. And they're not even thinking about what does it affect. And that's where I think you can make sleep sexy, right? LeBron James naps all the time. And it's so important that he has a calm app about it and tells his story on there and gives you sleep stories and nap stories so you can do it. But that part of it, when they're not sleeping, and there's so many studies out there at university level athletes who get deprived of sleep, and like reaction time and decision making time goes way up. Volleyball's a fast game. I don't know how long you have to choose, but you're not very long. And if that's affected by your sleep, you're still as good as you could be, right? And always coming back to what's the performance thing that really they latch onto that you can get their attention with, if you will. So then you share with them how to have a great sleep. My God, they're not turning their phones off, let's be honest. They're sleeping with them inside them. How can you make that something that's super important, right? How can you help them get that sleep hygiene, right? Napping. How can you help them to have even better opportunities to be great at your next practice session? Because great athletes don't miss a session, right? Great athletes do great things when nobody's looking, right? And that's what you want to get these athletes to think about and how you're coaching them for injury prevention. Last thing I have for you is if you do have an athlete who has an injury, I think you can ask whoever they're going to see and you can think about what do they have to stop because of that injury. What restrictions do they have that maybe they can do this but not like that? And then lastly, what could they be modifying to still be active and involved? And I think in my profession as a physio-athletic therapist, when your athlete comes to see me and I send them back to you, you should be able to say, what did Rhonda say you could do? What did Rhonda say you have to modify? And what did Rhonda say you can't do right now? And when are you seeing her again? Right? As a coach, that's what you can ask and demand of the people who are working with your athletes, right? So that you know how to keep them involved safely, when they're going to get checked out again, and then what are the things you absolutely can't do. And I think I'm trying to get all the people that I mentor in the sport physio world better at that. Answering those questions that I've heard from coaches all the time. Rhonda, I don't really care. I don't want to know about their ankle sprain. It's a sprain. Okay, good. What can they do? What can't they do? And what can you modify? That's what I want to know as a coach. And so ask that of the people that are working with your athletes to help get them back even better. Look at that. All right, I welcome any questions you have at this point in time, and or you guys are done at 2 o'clock. Mission accomplished. So thanks for your attention.
Question: would you build in 2 to 5 minutes of cool down, something like foam rolling, stretching, whatever? Or are you okay to trust athletes to do it? Like, is it worth building that into 5 minutes of whatever your gym time is? Just to do it, or you're okay to leave it?
You tell me you trust athletes to walk up and do it on their own?
Right.
But I also think they don't know what to do, right? So this might be how you do stuff in the first month, and then you give them autonomy, right? Then you give them the agency to pick what works for them, right? Because you're going to get better buy-in when they think they're in charge of it, right? So you're like, here, I want to show you how to use these bands. Another end of session. I want to show you how to use the foam rollers. Another session. I want to show you how to team stretch, right? And how you stretch your partner. And then introduce all the opportunities they have and why they want to do it and how it helps them build for the next session and how important that is. It's even so important, coaches, that maybe you end 5 minutes earlier of your court time so they can actually do an on-court cool down. Because that's how important you think it is. And then that's how important they think it is, right? And then when you're getting into that and everybody's got a routine, then you can give them that agency to say, hey, I'm gonna leave it for you to do the thing that worked the best for you and all that stuff we tried. So I'm gonna have you go hit the hallway, take your band, take your foam roller, take your gun, take your partner, whatever you like the best, and go spend 5 minutes doing that. Then you can leave them. And then you can see who your leaders are, right? Yep.
Do you have a magic bullet for getting parent buy-in?
For which?
Getting parent buy-in. So I've got kids where you can see it's a nagging injury.
Yep.
And you're like, hey, get this checked out. The parent's like, it's fine. So like, what do you like? Do you have a way to get the parents motivated to push the kids to do the same thing?
I think for me, the best way that I connect, and I've said it before, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, is how does it relate to their performance and their ability to be great on your team, right? What's the risk of not attending? Well, what would happen if you have to miss more practices because of this, right? What would happen if it came and got really bad right before that tournament that's so important to you?
Well, the kids understand that. So the parents just say it's fine.
Do you ever get to talk to them?
Yeah.
And what are they saying as a result?
It's fine.
And with the kid at the same time?
No, do that.
Yeah, that kid wants to get help. That kid wants to be great, right? So when you say, I've had a chance to talk to Johnny here about what's going on, my worry is this. I think he could be looking at this. I'd love to get that assessment done. And then let's ask, what's going on? What's the problem? What should we do? What should we not be doing? And get a plan from someone who knows more than I do. And that might be where you start. That's where that first visit is about setting up the expectations. What do you want out of today? Well, I want to know what's wrong with me and what we could do to get it better. And then I still want to practice. What can I do? Right? Give them, and I think you can give them that script that makes them an even better healthcare consumer, because they all come into my office and they're, why are you here? I should repeat. Like, okay, well, are you still practicing? Oh yeah. Are you doing everything? No. Well, what can't you do? Well, sometimes I do it all. Okay, so, and then I have to break it down. Well, are you hitting? Are you passing? Are you doing this? Well, what's coming up from you? Oh, we got this coming up. Oh, do you think you'll be able to play at that? Oh, yeah. You're not practicing now. Why do you think you'll be able to play at that? Oh, because that's important. Okay, well, what would be the best thing to get you there, and how can we do that? And it's just that conversation. But I think the kid and the parent is kind of key, because then you can start asking the kid, what aren't you able to do? How come we have to change practice? Would you be interested in looking into? And I think starting with that initial assessment to see what we're dealing with, so we can help them not get worse, but get even better. That might be your buy-in. Get them to do the one. And then if they get a good therapist that's in there that can share the plan and the potential for this athlete, they might end up going 4 to 6 times and getting settled down and not having this problem again. I have business cards for you. Anything else? Yep.
I think we've all kind of learned the RICE principle over time. I've heard some stuff about ice being not good or something. Can you expand on that?
You can do peace and love if you want. There's lots of stuff out there. When we think about what they're talking about ice, is they're saying ice decreases the inflammatory process and inflammation is a good thing. A little inflammation is a good thing, right? So we do want that. But at the beginning, I have no problem with you spending a couple days on ice if it also has elevation and compression, because those two components probably limit swelling on their own better than ice by itself. So that tensor bandage is huge, elevation is huge. Even the end of the bed. I used to tell athletes, take the 2 textbooks you hate, stick them under the end of your bed, and now you've got downhill all night. That's even more important than the ice. But after those first couple of days, think 48 hours, it's probably not about ice anymore. Now it's about what can you do, what do you modify, because we want to get them back to moving as soon as possible. Prolonged rest isn't good for hardly anything. Yeah. So you can kind of take that lens. It helps with pain at the beginning, that's huge, right? But it's got to be in conjunction with the other parts of RICE as well. All right.
I have one question. Where would you mass buy sticks for not a super expensive price?
Home Depot.
Yeah, maybe our Home Depot is very pricey then compared to.
Yeah, I've just got a bunch of doweling that we just cut, long stuff. Yeah. And yeah, it's just from the home. It's not fancy nothing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's super light. So also the lightweight stuff that's there. But you can get them in really long lengths too, and then you can cut them down. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time on a Sunday. Hope everybody who's driving has a safe drive home. If anybody has questions for me, I'm happy to stick around for a couple minutes. Appreciate your attention. Hope to see you next year.